Well, good evening and welcome to the Zacharian Computer Detective. The investigations for today are actually about ponderings or almost even rantings about games this time. Quite a lot of titles that people might like, but I don't really like about it, so modern games, it seems to me, like lack lots of surface. They are pretty and awesome in looks and feels and so on, but do they have depths? Well, that is a question we have all the time with every art and everything. People just want to make it feel good for the moment. It's disposable and then you can just move on. You can make a next one. As many games are nowadays actually too easy for my taste. They are just made for casual games, and actually even while nowadays it is the multiplayer is a very big thing, most games are still for single player, and most games are just made very easy to start with. It might be that there is huge it's very steep curve later on, it goes hard and so on, and that is a moment where you have to pay for it. I'm getting later to this one, but most of the time games for single players are just easy, and I like if it's a bit more challenging and it's not like underestimating a player. The games are so often like very pipelined. There is only one thing you can really do at the moment. You have to go somewhere, and often you might have it like sort of like an adventure, and then you have an arrow pointing at the direction, and that is where you must go. Do not venture away from the just go there, don't think about it, just go on, and then you go there, and then happens something, you get video and you move on, and or animation. And then again, especially if I'm going to mobile games, that loading times is one thing I'm not very fond of. I've never liked it. In 1980s or 1990s, some games just loaded a long time, especially with the 8-bit computers. The 16-bits like Amiga, the hard floppies seemed like really fast in comparison to old tapes and 5.25-inch floppies. Yeah, they are not really very fast. But the sad thing is that nowadays we are sometimes getting back into this loading business. I'll open a game on a mobile device, blah 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 blah, and hey, I'll have a break in a bus for a couple of minutes. I might want to play a bit, then the game might load a minute or several. Okay, and my break is already over. It's no game in that, so what's the point of it? In any case, one of the biggest things that bother me with the modern software is that it is back in the day I bought a game and the game is mine forever. It will always run as it is, but that is long gone already. The games are more like game as a service. I might download it for free and play it for free, but if I actually want to progress, I'll either need to use enormous amount of time or pay for my progress. Or alternatively, if it's a full game that I'm purchasing, hey, it's quite plain game, it's not having so much stuff, and then soon it's like get some downloadable content, which makes the game not the why it was supposed to be in the first place. Just you might have to pay like same amount of money that you paid for the original purchase. So yeah, and I guess it's sort of reasonable that you pay or you watch ads, but it's not really that, because the same games which are having ads usually have micropayments, and this goes back to this free to play and pay to win. Getting better as a player if you pay. Some people argue that grind to win, if the game can be grinded into the better playing and you cannot buy anything that you could not grind, it is not the same as pay to win. But if I really need to use like hundreds of hours of gameplay instead of paying if there is this inequality that some people can pay their victory, they make them better by money, it doesn't make me feel like subscribing or paying anything for it. This comes again to this games as a service thing and a requirement of internet to play the game in the first place. I actually have here this Borderlands, just been checking it out. It was funny to notice that I cannot actually just install the game because it's supposed to connect on a server which doesn't exist in order to activate the game. So, okay. In normal ways I cannot play it. I got it running here, and this is not even the operating system, it's planned to, it's Linux, and also this happened to have a DRM, so it requires this DVD to launch the game. I can actually take out the DVD here. It's over here, and the game keeps running on. Start another instance on another computer. So anyway, I can just swap the disk and then run it on this another computer, and then I can have a multiplayer game on LAN. But it's kind of ridiculous anyway that to have this DRM, because these disks are not necessarily going to last forever, and then I'm just unable to play it, and I just find it really stupid. And this was very blatant back in the days, already 10 years ago, and that was the dusk of the physical games and dawn of the online gaming, as in such you have everything on a server and nothing on personal, any physical copies doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, I guess for the most people it's like it doesn't matter, but it is just terribly stupid that if I'm actually owning the physical copy, I cannot just play whenever I want. Also the same goes with the mobile games. If I want to play a game, I want it to be available when I don't have the internet. If I need internet to play games, I can just play at my home. Of course, it is sort of great that you can get upgrades and so on online, but maybe I'm a bit conservative. It feels like stupid that a game sort of like many MMOs, for instance, they have been existing many years, some 5 years over, and some even over 10 years, and of course they are not by far the same games anymore what they were when they were launched. So they don't exist anymore. The same games have the same name, but it's been continuously been updating and changing, and it is just different game. Back in the days it would have been like Zacharian Computer Detective 1, ZaCoDe 2 and ZaCoDe 3. Now it's just a ZaCoDe Online, and that keeps growing on from year to year, and it's completely different, but you cannot return to that point. It's sort of losing history. But also if some game becomes a classic, it's just like servers are shut down, the game doesn't exist anymore. You cannot return it like you can return to some old games which have been existing as the same consistent form for years, even decades. So in a way I'm stating that they cannot be classics anymore in a way. Another thing is that the games are no longer released finished. This has also been existing for over 10 years. The game is released in haste because of business reasons, and then it is immediately need to be patched, otherwise it's unplayable. This is actually a very bad example of the case. Is Anno 1404. This game, straight out of this gold edition package, is completely unplayable. This doesn't install properly. You need to do certain tricks that you can even install this in the first place from the DVD, because the files inside here are corrupted, and that is like insanely ridiculous. If yeah, it should be possible to just return it, but that's the way the game business went until it went in that they are just offering digital copies, no longer even real copies of any games. There is also this thing that many games are applying this feature of design called as a design by landfill, and that this essentially means that because the games will continue for years and years, at some points the players who keep going on there, they will need some new content. And okay, if you are like increasing level cap, say for instance, and you will get improved new weapons and so on, there are some very finest balancing issues most likely to come. But if you instead just make everything, for instance, powerful enough that everything new will just subsidize everything that has been old, there is no point of using the old equipment because everything new is just so much better. It must be remembered though that there are things that I like in modern games in comparison to older games. For instance, this is already ironic, but I like that not everything is anymore in 3D. In late 1990s when the 3D came, and in 2000s everything turned into 3D, but actually nowadays there's more and more of non-3D, and I think that is great because not everything needs to be 3D. Average game is just better nowadays than before, and there are lots of game engines and so on. It's easier to make a game nowadays than 10, 20, 30 years ago. So average game is for that reason too much better. On the other hand, there are like gazillions of games around, and it's very hard to find a game of the kind you like. It's just difficult. Or if I want to find a game which is a nice hot seat multiplayer, I cannot find it. I need to go back in the like 1990s or something in order to find any hot seat games very easily. Another thing that is fairly alright in modern games obviously is that the interface. Even in 10 years old games nowadays some systems just feel rather clumsy to play with, and when we go back further in time, sometimes the interfaces just are awkward, to say the least. And on the other hand, it's kind of ironic that there are many games that I was sort of dreaming as a child, and nowadays not only there are no technical limitations of doing such games such as role-playing games with huge amount of people, everyone being a player there around, or similarly war games where there are huge wars going, but they didn't quite turn out the way I hoped them to be. Is this the reality we want, or is this a dystopia? Or am I just becoming too old to play games? In a nutshell, it is the markets which ruin the gaming. Just like goes with movies, literature, music, comics, if the main purpose is to make more money. Blessed to be the indie developers. Let their shooting stars shine brightly enough for people to see from all the gazillions of other static stars which may blink, which are bright, but are dull as ever. There is still hope, and the hope is around us. You just have to look and see. So, good evening, fellow investigators. That is unnecessary thing to do. We are gathered here to talk about some things. There is still hope, and I hope you'd see it.